Hello and welcome back to another video where we are building another Omaze house. I had so much fun building the Scotland house and they just came out with this London house, this £4.5 million London townhouse. So I thought I would have a go at building it in The Sims 4, and I have chosen to build it here in Brightchester, partly because all of these houses, well, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Omaze operates in other countries, but at least all of the Omaze houses that I've had a look at, I've been in the UK, England or Scotland or other places. And this one is no different. This one is in London, and Brightchester, I believe I'm correct in saying Brightchester is sort of based off like Oxford and Cambridge. So I thought it would fit in with this town kind of nicely. You can see on screen I'm doing a little trick right now to try and create this outhouse. There's an outhouse on the floor plans, which I've got up on the corner of the screen for you to see. This outhouse was actually in the basement level on the actual floor plan. There's so many London townhouses like this where they're kind of like, things are like split across different levels, and the garden in this house is kind of like halfway between the ground floor level and the basement level, or the lower ground floor as they call it in the screenshot, or as they call it in the floor plan. And so it's difficult to make that look natural in The Sims 4, I find. And so I kind of just ignored that for this one. And definitely on the outside of the house in the garden and this outhouse, I took a few liberties in terms of what was actually in the photos and the floor plan and what I put into here. I tried to keep everything looking pretty similar for the screenshots as much as I could, but there are a few things like that outhouse which I just wouldn't have been able to get to work because you can't build this the walls on the ground floor are tall wall height for the rest of the house, or but I wanted the outhouse to only be shorter walls, or normal level wall height, I guess, because that's kind of how it looks in the photo, which you can now see in the top left hand corner. There's an outhouse kind of built into that brick wall that's going around the left with the red kind of ivy on it. And yeah, it's definitely shorter because it's meant to be just like a shed, whereas obviously the inside of the house on the ground floor is this really grand dining room and kitchen, and so the shed is just shorter than that. And so it didn't need to be tall wall height. So to make it shorter, I had to basically actually build the room on the first floor of the house, or the second floor if you're in the US, I guess, and then drag it over and drag it down. That does mean that I don't think that the outhouse will actually be usable if you decide to play in this house. I did put a door into it, and I'd be curious if Sims can get into it. I have to admit I have not play tested this house, so I'm unsure. I don't think it'll be usable. That one's kind of just there for looks. I did decorate it up a bit and put a few items in there, some bicycles and just some random aesthetic stuff. But yeah, I basically try to just keep it as mainly an aesthetic thing, so you're not missing out on any playability by not having it. But yes, that was a little trick I used to make that shorter shed on the outside. And yeah, we're going through and doing the roof, which was kind of weirdly complicated. You can only see so much in the screenshots that they give you on the Omaze webpage. Sorry, I haven't explained what Omaze is. I guess, in case you don't know, Omaze is a kind of lottery where they offer up these kind of multi-million pound houses, and you can pay to get entries to this lottery and be in with a chance of winning the house. And that's kind of it. It doesn't really function too differently to other lotteries, apart from what you're in with a chance of winning is a house rather than just straight up money. So yeah, that's what Omaze is, if you weren't already sure. I have built another Omaze house previously, the Omaze Scotland house, and I will put a link to that video in the description of this one so that you can watch that as well if you're interested. They're really fun to build because they're just these massive mansions basically. Yeah, kind of perfect for what The Sims is for, building a totally, not unrealistic house, because these houses do exist in real life, but kind of very aspirational houses, should we say, in terms of where you might actually live in real life. But yeah, we're just kind of working on the outside of the house. Yeah, I was doing the roof. It was kind of complicated to do. They had these skylights But yeah, so in order to try and like build the house accurately, I had all of the photos that Omaze put on their website, and I downloaded all of those, and that you'll see them throughout the video. I kind of, when I'm working on a particular bit of the house, I've tried to put the like appropriate photo that I was working from in the top left of the screen, so you can kind of like see what the inspiration was. There's not a photo of absolutely everything, so I did like either make a few things up, or another thing I did is, because this house is basically in central London, it's in Borough, I was able to go on Google Maps satellite view, and yeah, for like the top of this is how I knew that there were like skylights in the roof, because Google Maps satellite view, I mean, you can do street view and just like walk along the street, and I did do a bit of that to try and like get a sense of what the outside of the house was like, although didn't have too much control of what the outside of the house was like, because I was building on this lot in Brightchester, and all the lots in Brightchester are pretty small, so I couldn't find like a bigger lot to build this on that would have then like fit in with the surroundings, I think, whereas where I built it here, I feel like it does fit in with the surroundings and kind of like vaguely matches the screenshots. I mean, it doesn't, because the real house, there's a train line behind it, and in this house there's a canal behind it instead, so definitely not super accurate. But yeah, I used Google Maps satellite view to like zoom around the house a bit from above, which is kind of crazy in terms of like, you can just do that with like this person, like you could just like see into their garden and like, I mean, it's not super clear, like it's a little bit blurry, but for my purposes, in terms of trying to recreate the house in The Sims, it was super useful. And I didn't do this for the Scotland house because I don't think I even thought of it, like hadn't had the idea, but it's actually really helpful. So I think whenever I build the next Omaze house, which I'm pretty sure I will at this point because I just have fun doing it, I will definitely be using Google Maps to help me a little bit with that. So yeah, just going around doing some terrain paint, and yeah, trying to, these bits I kind of had to look at on Street View. You can't really see them in the photo that's on the screen, or in any of the photos they give you, like I don't think they like showed the ground a lot. And yeah, one of the cool things about this house was that it just had like loads of greenery everywhere, all over the walls, like, and yeah, you can see in the photo that the greenery was actually kind of this like red ivy, I guess. But I've used wisteria because that's what we have in the Sims 4 that kind of looked similar, or like not looked similar, but gave a similar vibe. I think that there is like one piece of like wall plantage stuff that you can use that was red, but it would have just meant, which I think is this one, or maybe one of the other ones. Yeah, I think two of them maybe had a red option, but I don't know, if I just put that everywhere, I think it would have looked kind of boring, whereas by sticking with the green, I was able to like vary up the color tones a little bit and like make the whole thing look a bit different. So I was happy with that. And yeah, because of the trick I did with the outhouse, I was not able to like join up a fence or a wall to the very edge of it, because it thinks you're like trying to join a wall from the ground floor to the first floor, and The Sims doesn't like that. And so I just like had to manually place in those gates. So I've not tested the usability of that. They kind of are the only way into the house, so I do hope that that works. I've not tried it, but maybe I should go in and play test the house. But yeah, I will be putting a link in the description of this video, which will have a link to the gallery. So I'm going to upload this house to the gallery and then put a link in the description of this video. So if you do want to play in the house yourself, then you can. I did the same with my Scotland house, so you can play with your Sims in that house as well. And yeah, I guess the disclaimer is that I haven't play tested everything. Some of the things in the house, because I was trying to like just get it to look similar to the screenshots, I didn't necessarily like pay attention to like how much space maybe Sims would need to move past and stuff. So yeah, you'll just have to like see how that goes if you do want to play in the house, and maybe have to like change a few bits of the furniture around or rearrange a few things. I think honestly, like from memory, most of it's fine, like literally apart from those gates to actually enter the house, which are obviously slightly important, but then you could just, if you just deleted the gates, like I'm 100% sure that it would work, so you could just like play without the gates and then that would be fine. But yeah, this house had like has this really iconic sign on the side of it, which I'm about to start working on, which maybe the picture will be too small, but you might have seen at the beginning. It says "Take Courage," and this is so funny when this house came on the Omaze website because, like I mentioned, the house is like right next to a train line, and I used to take that train all the time myself because I used to live outside of London and I would travel into London a fair amount, and I would always see this, well, I didn't know it was a house, but like building which had this sign saying "Take Courage" on it, and I've not looked up the history of it or anything, but I don't know, it's always just been like quite a nice thing to see as you go past on the train in terms of like wall art. So it's kind of crazy seeing this house come on the Omaze website because it's in like quite a prominent location in London. It's near a place called Borough Market, which is very famous. If you visited London, you might have been there. And so yeah, when this house came on, I was like, oh my god, I know where that is. That's really weird. Whereas obviously normally like with the Scotland house, like I have no idea. Like, you can look up where it is, but I've never been there, right? Whereas this house, I was like, gosh, I probably like walked past it. So that was quite exciting. And yeah, we're moving on to the garden a little bit. This is definitely one of the places I took more creative liberties because we just didn't really have like outside furniture that would have matched the like bench that they have there. There is one, like I can't remember what you call it, but like the stuff from Dream Home Decorator that you can kind of like, the benches and chairs and sofas that you can like change the shape of. I probably could have like tried to mold into this sort of shape, but they're definitely not meant for outside, and I feel like they really don't look like they're meant to be outside. So yeah, I kind of preferred to use this, is it like Desert Luxe kit I think that this stuff is from? I can't remember what it's called. It's one of the ones that they gave away for free at one point, which is why I have it. I feel like the only kits I have are the ones that they've occasionally given away for free, which is nice that I was able to use it for this build. And so yeah, I tried to like copy the lantern effect that they had on a few of their trees. Obviously their wall is kind of taller and they also have more greenery. The whole space that they're working with is just bigger in general, so I was a little constrained by the lot size for sure on this build, and just tried to like fit in what I could, make it look like as similar as possible wherever I could. But yeah, you will notice like occasionally as I'm building that I like pause for a second or two, and that's just because I like had the screenshots up. I only have one monitor, so well, I only have one monitor. Most people only have one monitor, but because I was building this obviously in The Sims, I had to like get the screenshot up on the same screen in order to look at it while I was then building the house at the same time. So if you notice like pauses for a second or two, that was just me checking the screenshots to see what I was meant to be building. And yeah, this is a little outhouse that I was talking about. I didn't put too much in there because like I said, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to use it. I did put the bikes in there, but obviously you could just like, there's space outside if you wanted to just move them outside, or like I'm pretty sure your Sims can just like put a bike in their pocket, which is again not super realistic, but it's useful for this because then you don't need to actually store it in the outhouse. But yeah, I was really happy with how the outside of the house came together. I mean, it did look relatively similar to the screenshots, but also I was just like happy in general with kind of like how it looked. I did kind of like build a fake second townhouse next to this one, as you just saw, but I only decorated that one on the outside. I didn't bother with anything on the inside, and there's no like entrance to it either. So if you want to play in this house, you can just like pretend that house doesn't exist and ignore the big empty space, or you could, if you had like apartment, wow, what is that pack called? The Sims 4 for rent. If you have The Sims 4 for rent, then you could turn it into like a second playable house on the lot, and yeah, go in and like furnish it and decorate it and just have two houses on this lot, which would be quite cool. But I did not do that for the purposes of this video. But yeah, we are now moving on to working on the inside of the house, and basically just all the rooms that I had a picture of. So they don't show a picture of every single room because I mean there's like 4 bathrooms in this house or something, so I don't think they have a picture of any of the bathrooms in this house. So I really just made those all up as I was going along, but I've only shown in the video the rooms for which I did have a picture to work from. But I have actually like furnished and decorated the whole rest of the house. In fact, I feel like some of my favorite decorations are almost the bits that I didn't have a photo for, because honestly, when you're recreating these photos, like a lot of these bedrooms are decorated like slightly sparingly, like there's like no clutter. They just have these lamps and flowers, and just like kind of boringly, I mean, it's kind of like meant to be a show home, obviously, I suppose. Like they're just trying to, it's like dressing furniture, I think is what they call it when they like put the furniture in a place when they're trying to sell it. And so, I mean, it's really funny. I noticed the same thing when I was building the Scotland house, but like a lot of the rugs and the chairs and like the accents and like the art are basically just like identical paintings. So they've just like used the same painting in so many rooms, and it's the sort of thing, I don't know, it's funny, you don't really notice it if you're like just flicking through the pictures on the Omaze website, but because I was looking at all of them in so much detail, I realized and thought it was quite funny that everything's just repeated, because I feel like you wouldn't do that in your normal house, just like have the same framed picture in 4 different rooms. I don't know, maybe you would, no judgment if you would, but I don't think most people do that. Yeah, this pink room that I'm decorating now, I realized I think I actually put it in the wrong place in the build. So there's a bedroom in the basement, and I think this pink room was actually meant to be the basement bedroom, unfortunately, but I put it up here in the eaves because I didn't realize that. But the way I can tell is that the picture of the room in real life doesn't have any sort of like sloping roof, whereas this room on the floor plans in the real house does have a very slightly like sloping roof for like halfway up the wall. So yeah, I think I might have put this one in the wrong place, but honestly it doesn't matter. Like, I think there was just like one bedroom which there was no picture of, and so I decorated the pink room in the top room, and then the bottom bedroom in the basement I just like was one of the rooms that I made up. I also built like a whole laundry room down there, so again, this house is like, yeah, totally functional in terms of those things. Like, it's got the stuff you need to survive. I mean, you don't need laundry to survive in The Sims, but like you could use that laundry room and it would work, and yeah, the laundry pack is just one of my favorite packs, so if there's ever an excuse to put a laundry room, and it didn't call itself a laundry room on the floor plan, I can't remember what it did call itself now, but it just said like storage or boot room, or I don't know, something along those lines, and I thought that it would make a good laundry room for The Sims. But yeah, you just saw us decorate the dining room. We pulled that together pretty quickly. We're now working on the kitchen. They had this like bright yellow floor throughout the whole thing, which I definitely struggled to like match identically, but I was actually pretty happy with this one that I chose. This was one of the for rent floorings, I think, and I don't know, it just obviously is yellow, so that is similar, and just gave off this kind of like same patterned, vibrant vibe that they had in the real house. So yeah, I was happy enough with that, and yeah, basically just trying to like get this room to look as similar to the real kitchen as I could. I couldn't find any chopping boards. I feel like this happened in the last build I did as well. I'm sure there are some chopping boards in The Sims. To be fair, maybe they're a part of a pack that I don't have. Like, I know there is like a kitchen clutter kit and stuff like that, isn't there, I think? So yeah, potentially I just don't own the chopping boards or the cutting boards that exist in The Sims. But I searched on the little search panel to the left, like both chopping and cutting, and couldn't find them. So I was like, fine, they don't have to be included. Like, it doesn't have to be like perfectly matching to the T, but that was a bit sad because I did want to include them if I could, because they are a nice little accent. But yeah, just going through decorating the rest of the kitchen here. There's also like a nice little sunroom out the back. I could only really see the little bench that was in it, so the rest of the sunroom I kind of made up. So in addition on the Omaze website to these photos that I had downloaded, when I was building it I was only working from the photos. They do kind of have like a sort of walkthrough, or I don't know, just like mini videos I guess of the rooms, and they do show a few more of the rooms, and so I got a little bit of a hint of like what was in some of the others. So I think they have a little one of this, like, yeah, I don't know, what do you call this? Is a sunroom, I guess that's what you call it. But yeah, they did have a little video of the sunroom, and weirdly, one of the things I'd put in, which was this plant, this like rack of plants on the right, did actually seem to almost exist in the real one, so I was happy with that. I was like, no, I guessed right, which was fun. But yeah, obviously this corner of the room over here, I just totally made up. Like, I was like, oh, there's no fridge in the screenshot. I'm sure the real kitchen has a fridge somewhere. So, and also, if you're going to play in the house, you're going to want a fridge. I was also so happy because I got to use these radiators, which came with for rent as well. There's actually quite a lot of for rent stuff in this build, which is interesting, because this, I feel like for rent is based on like South Asia, and this is a like British build, so I don't know. But clearly we have the same radiators. But yeah, I was very happy I got to use those. They are like a nice item. I don't know if they work. I'm not sure I've like played with them and been able to test, like, do they actually heat the house up? That would be quite cool, but like what the fireplaces do. They are in the same category, so I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they are actually functional. But yeah, they just matched the look so perfectly, so I was so grateful I had those in my game. Because yeah, I definitely don't own all the packs. I'm like, you know, like the rest of us, I feel like owning all the Sims packs is a very expensive endeavor, and I do not have the money to own every single one of them. I would love to. That would be so cool. I'm so jealous of like the big Sims YouTubers when they're doing their builds and they just have like access to like every single item under the sun, like all of the clutter. And I don't know, just even like this, when I was like trying to choose the armchair, I'm like looking at the armchair I chose and I'm like, it's like not quite perfect. I'm like, maybe in one of the other packs there would be an armchair that would feel slightly more perfect. But yeah, I was just working with the packs that I had, so that's fine. And yeah, I do have pictures in the corner, obviously, as I'm working from, or as you're seeing all of these rooms. I do at the beginning of the video, I think I showed about 3 screenshots. At the end of the video, I go through all of the screenshots and all of the side by side. So I took screenshots of my build, and obviously I have the photos of the house in real life, and I show every single one of them so you can see kind of like how similar I managed to get it. Some of them are pretty similar and some of them aren't, I guess. Well, I mean, a lot of like the colorings and stuff are a bit different. Like obviously you can see in here the sofa is like definitely not a perfect match, but I was just trying to look for like a patterned green sofa, and that was really the closest one I could find. And yeah, obviously like these cupboards in the real house are like built into the walls rather than sticking out like they do here. So yeah, definitely took a few little creative liberties on things like that. But yeah, if you would like to see all of the side-by-sides, then just keep watching till the end of the video. I think they start at about 26 minutes and 30 seconds-ish. And then there's, yeah, like a minute and a half of screenshots. So you can watch all of those if you want to. And yeah, this is the first of the lounges that I was decorating, and then we are just about to move on to the second lounge. There it is, which in my head I just called the green lounge and the pink lounge because that's kind of how they were decorated. Yeah, I feel like this kind of happens a lot in like big posh houses. So remember the Scotland house was the same, where they always have 2 living rooms, which I guess kind of makes sense. It's like maybe you have a TV room and a non-TV room, but I'm also like, who needs 2 living rooms? Like, is that a normal thing? Maybe it is. I don't know, it just seems slightly unnecessary. But I guess maybe if you do live in like a house that's like posh like this, you do want somewhere you can sit that doesn't have a TV in it. But yeah, and yeah, so this was the kind of pink lounge that I went through and decorated, and yeah, I added in a little fireplace because they had one of those in the real house. And yeah, added in the TV like they do in the real house as well. But yeah, they didn't show all of or I didn't have access to pictures of all of the rooms. So some of them I did like go ahead and just like make up slightly. I'm wondering, like, would it be fun to maybe go in and decorate the other house? Because obviously with this one, I mean, it's kind of creative, but like really I'm just like, when I'm building this, I'm just looking at the pictures and trying to match them as best I can. But because it's kind of like a fun house to build in anyway, like it might be fun to just like go in and treat the other half of this semi-detached house as like a free build. Like obviously you could just like put anything you want in there, and you could like kind of decorate the house how you want and put any rooms in. So instead of having 2 living rooms, you could do something else if you wanted to. And yeah, just change things around. Like personally, I love like really open plan houses, and this house is just like more old fashioned, I guess. Like I feel like when houses used to be built, at least in the UK, like old houses are just like very much not open planned. It's really only modern houses that are open plan. If an old house now is open plan, it's because someone's like knocked down walls and converted it. Like yeah, none of them were built that way. They always had like separate kitchens, maybe like a kitchen / breakfast or dining room, but even then I feel like, yeah, they tended to have like separate dining rooms, separate living rooms, like that would all be 3 different rooms. But I just enjoy the more open plan style myself, so like potentially I would build the other townhouse, yeah, maybe as though it had been like renovated into like a modern space. That could be quite cool. But yeah, now we're working on the master bedroom, which is another green room. They used a lot of green in this house. And actually I've finished the master bedroom and now I've moved on to the study. Yeah, the study was super weird. I know it like, people are like, why have you accidentally put a window into the bathroom? But no, like if you look at the picture, there is literally a window into the bathroom in this house. I don't really know why, because this room has its own window anyway. Like I guess it would give you like double aspect, like light from two sides. But is that really necessary when the other room is a bathroom? Like I assume they must have like a blind or something they can pull down, or maybe it's clever glass that you can like switch to be opaque or not. I don't know, but that was a design choice. I don't know. I don't think I'd be doing that in my house. But anyway, with that, we are working our way towards the end of the video and the end of this voiceover. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the screenshots at the end of the video, and yeah, I will see you in the next one.